welcome to Chantel's Homeschool. I'm Chantel, I am a mom of 7, and I am homeschooling 4 of my kiddos. Today, I wanted to talk to you about notebooking. Notebooking is something that my family really got into last year, so I thought I'd share kind of what I know about it and how it can enhance your homeschool. Please note, I am not an expert. I'm just going to show you what we've done in hopes that it'll inspire you and help you to want to incorporate more of that into your own studies. So some people ask, what is notebooking and how can I incorporate it and why do I want to incorporate it? For me, I have just found notebooking to be a great way to incorporate more writing practice. So this is like their school journal where they document the things they remember from our lessons. And by having a beautiful picture, something they've drawn, a craft maybe that we're able to put in the book, that's a way for them to get what we're learning more into their brain so that they remember the things that they're learning. I try to do it about twice a week, so twice a week for science and twice a week for history, although sometimes it's just once a week. It just kind of depends on the lesson and how engaged we are, that kind of thing. So let me show you first my oldest's notebook. I got these these little simple notebooks at Walmart. They were like $4 or $5. They were not very expensive. So last year we kind of did Story of the World with sunlight. And so I would print off a picture and then have them write a short narration. In Story of the World, they give you narration ideas if you buy the activity guide. And so at first we were doing that just because I didn't know how to do it. And so their guide was very helpful for me. And so we had some maps that they would color in kind of certain places to help them with geography and kind of place where things were. As we went on though, we kind of dropped Story of the World. I found it a little too, I'm not sure what it was. I just didn't care for Story of the World that much. And so we dropped it and we ended up doing kind of our own thing. So they would paint a picture. What I have them do is we find a picture and they paint it or color it, and then they write a short narration. So for example, when we were studying different trees, my daughter did a picture of each type of root that the plants were supposed to have. They could be, a taproot or fibrous, and so I had them draw different things. They don't always draw. Some people do a lot more arts and drawing and their own paintings, but I have kind of just used this as like a notebook. So here we did the different types of trees, the different kinds of seeds, and so I kind of almost use it as a lap book in some places. Occasionally we had more of a craft instead of like an art project or drawing or narration. I had more of a project for them to do. Here are some ideas of my youngest's notebooking. You can see that often she just colors the picture and there's no writing. As she's gotten older, I have started to incorporate having her write a little bit. I'll write it on a whiteboard or a piece of paper for her to copy. Usually sometimes it's just the date. Sometimes I say, well, what do you remember about what we learned? And she'll tell me and I'll bring it down to one sentence. Sometimes she wants to do a lot more, and so she'll do more. Her narrations are much shorter than my oldest's. So I've adapted it so it's something we can do family style. It's something that isn't too hard for your youngest to do along with your oldest, because you can easily adapt it to each age. See, again, I kind of did like a lap book thing in their notebook, so it wasn't just a notebook. And then sometimes it's just a project like this, and there's no writing on it. It's just a fun little art project to help us remember the lesson. Here's another art project that we did, a Viking ship, and again, there's no writing on it. It's just an art project. So it doesn't always have to be a narration. Sometimes you can just write a few facts, like who it is and his nickname. For my family, we started notebooking to add in a little more writing practice. And then also, I wanted them to remember the things that we were learning. And they have just loved looking back through these books. I will show you a flip through of some of them. I have 4 kiddos doing it, so I'll kind of show you how I've adapted it for each age group and how that could look for you. Here is an example of my, he is not my youngest, but he's definitely needs more practice on things than my youngest, so his level is younger, if that makes sense. So I started writing things for him because it was too hard for him to write at that point. Often he just drew a picture or he colored in just different names. And then I started with very simple writing. There you can see his growth and that he started writing a little bit more. So for your younger kids, they can start out pretty simple and then you can add more. And you can see that gradually he's been learning to add just a little more writing. For my next skill level, she started out writing just a little bit more. Often we still just color a page, as you can see here. Sometimes she filled in things or I did it for her with her telling me. And then as we've gone on, she has started doing more. I feel like notebooking is just a really great way for them to build up their skills. So those are some examples from last year, whereas this year she is starting to write just a little more. It's kind of fun to see how their handwriting kind of improves over time and how much longer of sentences they're starting to write. This is my 11-year-old, and we're still working on writing skills with him, so he still doesn't have very long narrations at this point because we just started this last year. However, I am very impressed with the how much he has grown over the year and the things that he has written. Here we are towards this year, and he is just writing a lot more things, and his handwriting is improved. And actually his artwork has improved too, if you'll notice. This is my oldest. She's 14. We just started notebooking last year. And so you can see that she does a little bit more. And obviously when we first started, I actually didn't do a lot of writing with them because I didn't know what I was doing. And as we went on, I started doing more and more with the writing because I understood more. It's one of those things that the more you do, the more you learn. And so her writing got to be a little longer, and her narrations have gotten much better. Printing off a picture for your kids to color is a great way for kids who especially don't love art. My 11-year-old doesn't really love doing art projects, and so by having something for him to color in, it's much easier than saying you need to draw this because it's not something he particularly loves. So that's been helpful. My 2 girls really enjoy art, and so they've often chose to draw things other than the picture that I've printed, and I'm okay with that. In a nutshell, notebooking is a journal of your learning. You include quotes, you include little snippets about what they've learned, but it's not some magical thing. That's really all it is. And once I wrapped my brain around notebooking is simply a journal of what we're learning, it made it much more doable for me. Now, a lot of people do very fancy narrations and they go into a lot more detail than maybe ours are, but we're just beginning and I have hopes. I've seen a lot of growth in my kids. Their writing has become a lot more spontaneous. So I feel like we've seen a lot of growth. Some reasons you might want a notebook is you might want to practice writing like our family. You might want to tailor grammar to what your kids are working on. So if they write something and you know they struggle with a particular concept, you can address that in their narrations. If your child is struggling with narration, you can use notebooking as a way to strengthen that skill, being able to recall what you read and get it down on paper. If they're struggling with spelling, you can keep track of the words that they've been misspelling, and you can make them like a little spelling book that they can learn how to spell those words. If your child likes art, this is a way for them to get something that they love into their grammar and their writing program, or history and science if you're using it like we are. It's also a wonderful review tool. My kids love going back through these books and they look through the pages. That's why some of them are torn, is because they flipped through these books a lot of hundreds of times, probably. I don't know how many times. It's really been a good review tool to remember what they've learned. I hope that was helpful for you as you navigate beginning notebooking and how to add it to different subjects. So one thing I would for sure do if you're just starting out with notebooking is I would start with just one subject, history, science, whatever it is, and just do it one time a week. That's what we did when we started, and once I kind of got the hang of it and wrapped my head around the idea that notebooking is simply a journal of your learning and things that you remember, then we added it twice a week. And now we do it about 4 times a week. It's something that can grow. You can start small and then build up. Also, when you start out, I would have something for your children to copy. So I will find a quote in the book, or I'll summarize it and write it, and they'll copy that quote. And then as time goes on, I ask them, what do you remember about what we read? Or what was your favorite part? What's something that you really enjoyed learning about? Ask questions like that so they can answer it, and then I will write down their answer and they copy it into their book. As my oldest, I'll ask her and she'll kind of tell me, and then she puts it in her book. We actually just got to the point not too long ago where she has been writing much more detailed narrations on her own without me having to prompt her. So I feel like that's been a big step. I've noticed her essay writing in our language arts curriculum has improved by doing this. So those are some easy guidelines if you're just starting out like we were last year. And like I said at the beginning, I am no expert. I am just sharing how my family has made it work for us. And I hope this is helpful and that encouraged you that if it's something you haven't been doing, that you can do it. It is possible, and it's maybe not as hard as it looks. So I hope you have a great day, and we will see you soon.